You have seen the antlered, deer-skulled monster stalking the winter woods in movies. But the true story of the Wendigo is older, stranger, and far more human. It is not a cryptid you can hunt, but a hunger that can hunt you. Today we are going back to the source, to the people who named it, and to winters that could starve a village. And by the end, you will know what is legend, what is misrepresentation, and what is warning. Let us begin where the snow is deep and the nights are long. Among the Algonquian-speaking nations of North America, the Wendigo is a spirit with a terrible appetite. The word takes many forms, like Wendigo in Anishinaabemowan and Witiko in Cree. Its homeland stretches from the Great Lakes through the boreal forests and into the north. In these lands, winter scarcity could turn survival into a moral test. The Wendigo is the embodiment of that test, a personification of greed, isolation, and taboo. It is also a being that can possess a person and twist them beyond recognition. Traditional accounts describe a gaunt figure with skin drawn tight over bone. The lips are chewed or missing, the breath is a reek of decay, and its eyes burn. Its heart is said to be ice, and its hunger never ends. The more it eats, the bigger it grows, and the bigger it grows, the hungrier it becomes. Some stories make it a giant that towers among the trees. Others say it moves inside a person, turning them cold and ravenous. Either way, it arrives with deep winter, with famine, and with fear. A Wendigo might whisper your name from the timberline like a lost child. It might mimic a voice you love to draw you off the trail. It promises warmth and food, but it gives only isolation and death. This is not a random monster lesson, but a moral one. The Wendigo punishes selfishness, hoarding, and the breaking of community bonds. It teaches that cannibalism is the final collapse of relationship. It warns that greed can make you devour the very people who keep you alive. That is why elders told Wendigo stories on nights when the fire was low. They were not trying to scare children for fun. They were teaching a code of survival rooted in care, sharing, and restraint. Even the name carries that meaning, pointing to a devouring, winter-bound force. Early French missionaries wrote about northern famines and cannibalism in their reports. Later, outsiders tried to catalog a so-called Wendigo psychosis. They claimed some people developed an obsession with human flesh and feared becoming monsters. Modern Indigenous scholars and many clinicians call that label misleading and harmful. It was never an official diagnosis, and it often ignored the context of starvation and colonial violence. There were real winters when food failed and people died despite doing everything right. In those winters, hard choices were sometimes made and sometimes condemned. The most cited story is that of Swift Runner in the late 1870s. He was a Cree man in Alberta who killed and ate members of his family during a hungry winter. He said he was haunted by a Wendigo and executed by the Northwest Mounted Police in 1879. His story has been retold as proof of a supernatural curse and as proof of human cruelty. It is also a story about famine, trauma, and the clash of law and spiritual belief. Another often retold case is that of Jack Fiddler, an OG Cree leader in the early 1900s. He said he had killed many Wendigos by killing people believed to be possessed. Canadian authorities arrested him in 1907. He died by suicide soon after, and his brother was convicted and died in prison. These events are complicated and often flattened into sensational headlines. What matters here is not a courtroom definition, but a cultural one. In the communities that tell Wendigo stories, the danger is spiritual and social. A person becomes Wendigo by losing their obligations to others. They hoard while neighbors starve, or they turn away from the firelight of kinship. The Wendigo is a mirror that shows us how greed can look like survival until it is too late. That is why the real creature does not need antlers or a deer skull. Those are modern horror images stitched onto an older tale. Traditional descriptions call it human-shaped and hideously thin or monstrously swollen. Some say it has a heart of ice that must be melted to save the victim. Others say you must burn it, break it, or name it so it loses its power. Naming matters because stories shape behavior when food is gone. To call someone Wendigo is to say stop before you cannot come back. It is a dangerous accusation, but also a desperate plea. The Wendigo story grew in a world reshaped by the fur trade and disease. Trapping routes pulled people far from home, and colonial policies eroded food security. Game herds shifted, fisheries closed, and rations came with strings. Starvation was not always a natural event, but a political one. In that pressure, the Wendigo became a language for unthinkable choices. It let communities talk about danger and enforce mutual aid. It drew a hard line around the value of human life in the worst season. It also traveled, changing shape as it met new audiences. By the 20th century, non-Indigenous writers recast the Wendigo as a wilderness cannibal. By the 21st, horror games and shows added antlers and deer skulls to the design. Those images look cool, but they drift from the original teachings. They can turn a story about community into a monster of jump scares. That does not mean modern stories are worthless. It means we should know whose story this is and what it asks of us. The Wendigo is not the same as a skinwalker or any other being. Different nations have different teachings, and they should not be collapsed together. When we say Wendigo today, we should remember the families who kept each other alive. We should remember the winters when a shared pot meant the difference between life and death. We should remember that greed can wear a human face and smile. And we should remember that hunger is not only about food, it can be a hunger for land, power, or profit without limit. Some writers use the word watiko to describe that consuming mindset. They ask whether a society can become Wendigo when it eats the world. That makes the story feel very present and very urgent. Fires are burning hotter, storms are hitting harder, and the richest keep taking more. The Wendigo legend says there is a line you do not cross and still call it living. You do not abandon the people beside you to feed your appetite. You do not let fear turn you into the thing you fear. The antidote to Wendigo is not a bullet, but a community. It is warmth shared, food shared, and decisions made together. It is elders whose stories keep us from walking off the trail alone. It is children who are taught to watch for the voice that is not a real voice. It is the courage to say no to excess when excess is easy. It is the humility to be small in a world that tells you to be huge. If you still want the image that chills, keep the snow and the long shadows. Keep the footprints that circle the camp and stop just out of sight. Keep the whisper that knows your name and asks you to come closer. But take away the antlers and the skull and listen for the lesson underneath. The true Wendigo is the hunger that makes a person forget they belong to others. And the way you defeat it is by belonging on purpose, even in the cold.